Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis, a podcast dedicated to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Saturday evening, and we wanted to hop on and do another episode to sort of catch up since we were out of commission for a few weeks with everything that was going on in both of our crazy lives. So how are you doing, Fruit Loop?
I'm good. Spent the day out on a drive up in the mountains, so it's kind of good.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just sat around my house and I cleaned and kind of just did nothing.
I'm going to tell you, we've both talked about this. I don't know if it's the weather or what. Like, I mean, my uncle's death and all that stuff, and we're just kind of like blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
like
motivation.
No.
Like, I keep my house clean and my kids fed.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the extent of the effort I'm putting in right now.
Yeah, like I've binge watched so many documentaries on all kind of stuff. Like, I love like hunting gold. Like, you know, like panning for gold and all the gold shows and all that stuff. So,
oh, that's fun.
Like, I've watched a million of those, like just all kind of stuff.
I've gotten in this habit of just going down YouTube rabbit holes where I started off the other night watching just some of the more rare things that the Smithsonian museums have, not on display, but just, you know, in store.
Yeah.
And then I ended up watching some street food being made in Taiwan. So that's kind of, but I'm just at a point where I'm sort of tired of binging shows.
Yeah.
I do have one video game that I play that I love. I'm tired of that.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
And my kids are just all at ages where they disappear into different parts of the house and do their own thing.
Yeah, and 2 months later you see them and you're like, oh, wait.
Right.
Yeah.
You've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a date set this week. Now, if you remember the last episode we did, we covered the motion to disqualify Rob Wood, which was denied. And they were going to have some Zoom meetings where they were going to decide a few dates. And we did get a date released. What was that for?
Yeah, so the first one is February 17th, and that is the motion to compel. And it's at 9:30 in the morning, and that's Mountain Standard Time. Mm-hmm. I think that's just because evidently Pryor and Wood can't get together on some discovery or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they've been in a few times, I believe, on discovery stuff, but we do know what he's asking for. So first off, he's asking for any statements they have made by Chad and Lori and any prior records.
See, this irritates me because I'm like, I want to be the one to be like, okay, find it yourself. Like, I know how it works, but that's
right. Yeah.
I mean, couldn't he just look up and see their prior records? I mean,
I don't know. I don't
know.
They don't have prior records.
I mean,
but
we didn't see anything.
I don't know. I guess maybe it's just standard stuff you ask for across the board. I don't know.
For me, it's wasting time.
And then documents and tangible objects. I'm not really,
Yeah, I don't.
Tangible objects. I can't even.
Tangible, isn't that not like something you can hold?
Yeah, but I remember at one point they were talking about something about books she was reading in jail and
Yeah,
what
'cause-
are they going to have this tangible from? Just I mean, unless it's. I don't think Rob Wood and them can just send evidence over. So I don't know what
Yeah.
tangible objects he's talking about.
I'm confused on that as well.
So what else?
Like reports of exams and tests, like biology. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I guess tests they run, et cetera, state and experts for trial,
Yeah, so just any witnesses, I guess.
and police reports.
Can they not request those police reports? I don't know how it works really.
Yeah,
probably
you
do. I just
attorneys
forgot.
that are like listening, give a shout out and say, yeah, you can do it, or no, you can't. Like,
But I guess maybe if it's from the search warrant, that would be prosecution's evidence, and then they have to provide that to defense. So I guess the big thing is
Yeah.
just Pryor's argument is things aren't getting to him.
yeah, and I think some of it from what I read was he wasn't satisfied with with Wood's response
Yeah,
as to why he hasn't or whatever. So
I don't know. I mean, but
it's like kindergarten battleground. Like, yeah.
with literal name calling. That's what's so funny.
Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, there's only so much that Wood is required to give to him right now. If you remember in the past, a lot of their requests have been pretty detailed and numerous requests. And I don't even like half the things Rob Wood's always arguing he doesn't have to give to them.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of it. February 17th, that will be heard. And we'll see if Chad shows up or not.
Yeah. Okay. So this next thing, when this came out, was it yesterday this came out or Thursday?
It was one of those days.
Yeah, it hit, and I was like, did he really ask for that? So Mark Means filed a motion for Lori to have a cell phone in jail.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Like, does he understand that's contraband and you get in trouble and get charges for having a cell phone in jail? I mean, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, that's probably one of the more odd requests from an attorney that I've seen.
Yeah.
And like you said, they shake down their cells for these.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, what the world?
What are they going to do? Shake them down and say, oh, she's good.
Yeah.
She has permission to have that contraband.
Yeah. So oh yeah. And I don't, it's just, I don't know. He gets on my nerves, but I mean, what is the reasoning? I mean, I understand he went through the whole deal about I can't talk to my client, et cetera, et cetera. You listened in on our conversations.
Well, in the spring of last year, the jail did admit that they accidentally recorded, I think it was 2 meetings with Mark Means and Lori.
Yep.
And that is dangerous because even though they say we deleted it, nobody heard it, these are the kind of things I think that the detention center's got to be really careful with because that is like a basic right of a defendant. Now, whether or not they're right or wrong and COVID and all that, but they've got to be careful.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the one thing. Now, the cell phone request, I think, is completely crazy. But are you possibly setting things up for an appeal if Mark Means keeps having these sort of issues? So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But so the new motion is filed under Lori's 6th Amendment right to counsel. Oh, hey, we got a shout out.
Oh yes, Mikhail.
Hey, girl.
Mikhail, we forgot the other day to give you a shout out, and we're sorry. She's having some surgery or something. So
I think she's having like some oral surgery maybe next week. So we're thinking about you.
Yep.
Okay, so back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, so you were talking about the new motion is filed under the 6th Amendment right to counsel.
Yeah, so his argument was last year between March 30th and June the 9th. He was denied access to Lori to meet in the attorney-client room of the detention center. And so when this started, he said that he was given no notice on March the 30th. that he would not be able to meet privately with her. So he complained to Rob Wood, and the deputy said that he complained to Rob Wood and the deputies.
Yep.
And so they were supposed to work on it. He said he was still denied access to Lori and the private room. And then he was limited to telephone conversations. And his concern, obviously, is what happened last spring.
Yeah. And I mean, it's COVID. That's right when, COVID and all was rearing up. So I think it was a big change for everybody.
Everybody was scrambling. I mean, nobody had really heard of social distancing until last March. And then obviously with incarceration facilities, it's a unique challenge because you have so many people in a box.
Yeah.
And then you have the staff in and out, or you have delivery people in and out, or whatever. It spreads like wildfire. So not only do you have a situation where this is new stuff for everybody, nobody knew what to do in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it was new to everybody. I mean, like, I've been on the inside of prisons and jails, and there is a lot of in and out. So what does that look like? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you limit who comes in? It's a nightmare, I would think.
Oh yeah. And just any kind of a facility like that where, I mean, your entire population stays there 24/7. I mean, it's just, you can't have a huge outbreak if you can help it. And so I think a lot of it is just in the beginning from March, maybe to June. It just seemed like that was sort of the period where every place was figuring out how they abide by the COVID rules.
Yeah. And if you remember, even for a hearing, it was, okay, wait, the public has a right to be able to see and hear.
Yeah.
So it was a scramble to learn, okay, we got to do this live stream. So, I mean, everybody was scrambling to make sure everybody's rights were met. And so I just want to say, everybody else is dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, he acts like he's on an island by himself and nobody else is dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the judge says, but now he included some pictures in this, correct?
Yeah. And he had a piece of paper up over, so Lori was sitting across. Like, one of them was, he was in the little conversation booth with the glass and the two phones, and Lori was across, but they were holding paper up in front of her face so you couldn't see her.
He was just demonstrating the area or showing the area that they had to conduct their meetings.
Yeah.
And so I guess the one thing that I sort of thought about is, from what we've heard from locals, he's there pretty much every day. Why are we just now in the middle of January, if he's saying that he was denied access to her from March to June of last year, and then it was fixed, right? He says it was fixed.
Yep. And it didn't start back up until he went January 5th to go back in. And because of I don't know if it was because of COVID numbers or whatever, but the jail changed the way he met. So.
Yeah. And I think too, I was watching the court TV, they were talking about this, and Ted on there, he said that just from his standpoint, the timing of when he couldn't see her as of January 5th again, he said, well, it's a little, not suspect, but in other words, the timing looked bad because they had this upcoming hearing for the disqualification of Rob Wood.
Yep.
But he wants to meet her in person, face to face.
Yeah.
That's what he's asking for right now, I believe, in addition to the cell phone, right?
Yeah. And I don't know with COVID, how do you do that? Like, does he quarantine for 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever it is?
I have no clue.
Before he goes in, like, are they testing temperature? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know that I don't know what the judge is going to rule, but I can't imagine that he's going to give her any special treatment.
No, I want to know, like, I'm going to do some research, and we talked about this, but if anybody knows, like, how are these other prisons and jails, like, handling COVID restrictions? Like, what are they, you know what I mean? Like, what are they doing?
I know a lot of places have suspended in-person visits from family and friends. you always have a right to meet your lawyer if you're incarcerated. They can't deny you that. So I guess the big question's just going to be, is the jail going to be able to accommodate Mark Means to where he feels like it's completely private? Because one of the scenarios that they have is that they can meet, but they're within earshot of a deputy, and he doesn't want that. And the other thing was, when he requested to meet face to face, he wanted the cameras turned off and like the phone disconnected.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can do that. They have to watch. To me, it seems like for safety reasons, they would have to have some kind of monitoring in place. If she were to lose her mind and like attack him, I won't say lose her mind, she's there, but
yeah.
I mean, if she were to attack him, it seems like that would be a safety precaution.
Yeah, they would be liable, I would think.
Yeah.
So it's just weird all the way around. But my thing is this: if he wants her to have a cell phone, like, I understand that somebody couldn't monitor what was said, like back and forth between you two, but she's still going to be in earshot of a guard or whatever else. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to give every single person in there a cell phone if they request it, if they allow Lori to have it. So I don't think they're going to break rules or do any kind of special treatment.
No.
I just think that the jail's got to figure out something to where this doesn't keep coming up.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like maybe at this point, Rob Wood needs to step in and make his recommendations or whatever, just because every time something like this comes up, he has to respond. He has to be in that hearing. And there's so many little side things going on. It almost feels like right now we're not even dealing with the meat of the case. We're dealing with all these little fringe things that just seem so small.
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever.
So, where are we at?
We were kind of finished with all that. We are gonna talk about not tonight, but Justin Lum from Fox 10 Phoenix says that he has the full report from when Alex Cox tased Joe Ryan, but he's only released like 4 pages of it out of 57 or 58.
Yeah.
And it's been a few days, so I was hoping that would be out so we could talk about it tonight, but it's not. So we thought we would go back a month and talk about the investigation discovery special with Kay and Larry.
Yeah, because I know there's some of you guys didn't see it. Not everybody saw it because they didn't know where to find it. So.
Yeah, and if you're out of the country, sometimes too, it can be hard to stream things for a while. And I don't think we're going to get super deep into like the context of it, because this really was just a look from their point of view.
Yeah.
We know the facts of the case. If you follow this case even halfway, you know enough to be able to follow that special. So I think when I made the notes watching this, at the top in capital letters, and we've said this a million times before, but there were so many missed signs. And we say that so much, but for me, when I'm sitting down and I'm watching this story unfold, like in this documentary from beginning to end, and then again you hear, oh, well, nobody followed up with this, or so many missed signs.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yep. And if you guys don't know what the ID Discovery was, they filmed Larry and Kay. I don't even know when they started. But they, like a film crew, followed them around and filmed them as they were getting things, stuff was dropped in the case, different things like that. So it almost, to me, if you remember, they kind of showed that video where I almost felt like it started maybe around the time that the case went mainstream. Yep.
Maybe a little later.
Yeah.
But
so I don't think when we took notes, I think we took notes on different stuff. So I have like notes and then you have notes.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff you had was like they went where JJ had been.
Yeah, if you remember, they rode by his school and rode by the Rexburg apartments. And they was because JJ wasn't in Rexburg long. They got there, was it August? Like 1st of September they got there, and he was there, maybe 3 weeks before he died?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really home for JJ. But it showed them in Rexburg going by the places he would have been going to the last few weeks of his life.
Yeah. And they did, it was very touching. They were walking out. We all saw the iRing door cam that everybody, most everybody's seen with JJ running and playing. And they're walking, and I think that it's Larry says, I wonder if that's the townhome where JJ played with their kids. And Kay said, I don't know. And he said, do you want me to go ask? She said, yeah. So he walked up and knocked on the door. And as soon as they opened the door, she was like, he was introducing himself. She said, I know exactly who you are. You're JJ's grandparents. So
yeah,
it was touching. Cause I think on that one, Kay got emotional and just had to walk away.
Yeah.
Hard.
Larry asked a question to the neighbor, and I can't remember what the question was, but it was something about the last time she saw JJ.
Was he happy?
Or something. And Kay just had to, she started crying and turned and walked away. And
if I remember right, she said that she just got overwhelmed because she was talking to somebody who saw him. Like she was one of the last people to see him, alive, I guess. So
yeah. And then, they showed the picture again of Yellowstone, and from the day that picture came out, I've always said Tylee looks sick in that picture.
You did.
She looks swollen. I know with the condition that she was found in, and even Rob Wood told Summer, we may never know what killed her. Or not what killed her. We know who killed her, just how. Yeah. But I still sort of wonder if they weren't poisoning her or something.
Yeah.
That picture, she just looked unhealthy.
Yeah.
But it could have been stress. It could have just been she was sad. She's in a strange place, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and she's far away from everybody she loves.
Yeah.
A lot on that kid's mind, bless it.
Yeah. So then they went and they were looking at the thrift store trying to find the scooter.
Yeah.
Because JJ always had a scooter. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this one, if you didn't watch it, it really pulls at your heartstrings.
I think the thing for me that stood out was, you think with them being the grandparents that they would have just a one-way line into everything happening with the investigation. But, largely through this special, we saw that they found out their information like we did.
Yeah, it would be like a post on Facebook.
Yeah, when the news broke from like East Idaho News about what was it they showed?
Was it the camera, the storage footage, I think?
Yeah.
Wasn't that what it was?
That's right. And then, and they, it came across an alert on their iPad. So that was what was surprising to me, was that, I'm sure they definitely know more than we do, but it still, there's a lot they find out with the rest of us.
Yeah. Yep. So at what point did they start to think the kids may be in Chad's backyard? Like what month?
Yeah. And I wonder that, because they were found in June, but to start piecing together all of that cellular data and the Google waypoints, how they tracked Alex to there, I just wonder, was it May? Was it January of last year? I'll be curious to find out the answer to that. How long did they suspect it?
Yeah, because that's not a 1 week.
No,
investigation. That's
and you can suspect it, but you've got to have reasonable. You know what I'm saying? You've got to have a reasonable expectation that you're going to find something there. So just an inkling isn't enough. Yeah. So did they have a good idea for a month or two the kids were buried there, but just not enough probable cause to go get a warrant?
Yeah.
I'm just curious on that. Yeah. Now, I did look up today. I was looking up some Social Security fraud penalties. And I have to say, some of the examples that I read about, these were people that never reported a death and kept getting payments for years. You know, the penalties for those were not as high as I thought. I think one guy like got him for 5 years from his mother, and it was fraud because he knew he should have stopped him. And I think he got like home confinement.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know, because they were talking about the Social Security at some point during that investigation discovery thing. And I thought, she's going to get fraud charges. She may. But I was just surprised today that a lot of times with the examples, the penalties were just very light.
Yeah.
I guess they more go looking after people who have made multi-million-dollar fraud or,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You're looking at a matter of months
Yeah.
for Lori, but still, okay.
Yep. So you really kind of, in this thing, you got a feel for Larry and Kay.
Mm-hmm.
And we would definitely hang out with them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're a trip.
Larry is so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so... He definitely seems like the guy that would not have a lack of dad jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But he, you know, the fact that Larry was able to find humor sometimes in the worst situation, I think that speaks volumes about him.
Yeah.
Kay just... the hurt that I felt with Kay was so palpable.
Yeah.
The whole time, both of them. I mean, Larry would try to find humor and then he would just break. You know, I loved how Larry just didn't hold back on that. He just felt what he felt. He didn't care if there were cameras following him. He just, both of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, you definitely saw them vulnerable and sad, understandably.
Yep. I think one of the other things, they didn't mention Tammy until like an hour and a half in.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
I think you just have to understand that this case is so massive.
Yeah.
You could do like a whole season on this case, 12 episodes, 2 hours each, and I think you would still leave there would be a lot of content later. But if you look at Charles, Tammy, we know Joe Ryan, they just ruled that as natural. And then you got Alex, who they ruled as natural. But you still have Tammy and Charles. We have no charges for them.
Yeah.
Got the kids. So it's just a big case. And this was just about the other two kids pretty much. And I felt like they could have done another 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So it was moving when they rode by Chad's house. It was chilling. Like, it was... The kids were buried there, and they rode by that house.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I don't want to say weird. It's not the word.
It's chilling. I mean, in hindsight, to know what we know now, and then to watch them drive right past that field.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just one of those things that.
Yeah. Yep. And sorry, this is kind of all over the place, but it's just random stuff they mentioned that a lot of you knew some of the stuff. So, so they talked about Chad. He made around what, $2,000 from his books annually.
Yeah.
It's okay. I went down that rabbit hole in that book. You still owe me like a steak dinner for that one.
All right, I got you.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Yeah.
Well, they went bankrupt, Chad and Tammy did. And so if you're making $2,000 a year from writing your books, you're not doing it because you're getting rich.
No.
I think he just liked the notoriety.
He was a publisher. He was a book. Yeah, he was a writer.
He was a cult leader trying to find cult members.
Yeah.
That was it was just sort of a vessel. I mean, he probably felt like the biggest dude standing in somebody's living room with like wood paneling and felt like the Messiah in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Zach Cox talked about that. If you remember when he was living, which is Lori's nephew, her brother Adam's son, he lived with them. Was it in Texas with Charles? Was it or no?
I think it was Arizona.
Arizona. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Arizona. And he talked about coming home one night, and he said there was like 30 or 40 cars lining in the road. And then he walked in and heard a voice, and he saw Chad talking. He talked about how it gave him the willies.
Yeah, he said it was like everybody turned and just stared at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but for Chad, I'm sure that was where he thrived.
Yeah.
Was feeling like all eyes were on him, and yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So in 2018, Charles said Lori had new friends and he wasn't comfortable with it. And then it all got worse in 2019.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of saw in this the turn.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've heard it said, Kay said in this, nobody could have seen this coming.
Yeah.
And so 2018 obviously is when she's really starting to get into this, which she started listening to Julie Rose podcasts, which taught Chad's ideas. And then she went to the books as far as we know. So it had to have been scary for Charles to see her sort of slipping away from reality.
Yeah.
And then he saw the fallout months later when he was ignored time and time again.
Yeah. So they had Kay says this ain't a bad horror picture, but it's a nightmare. So they called her at 7:45 the morning they did the raid, the search on Chad's property. And she wasn't thinking about bodies. Mm-hmm. And then Rob Wood called her at 1 to tell her they found the bodies.
Yeah. And they showed when she got the call.
Yeah.
It was Kay and Larry, and there was one other person with them. I don't know if I know who that was.
I don't remember.
But, you know, Kay just gave off a very primal cry. And, I mean, I think at that point, they just wanted to know either way.
Yeah.
But I hope to God I never have to understand what they were feeling, to not know day in and day out where a child is that you love more than life itself. But I guess some finality, at least. I hope soon they can bury those babies. I mean, just to let them be at rest. I kind of feel like things aren't final with them until they can rest. I don't know. I just hate to think of them. But at the same time, if it means that justice has a better chance of being served, then, you know, Kay and Larry are going to do whatever they got to do.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's been such an unimaginable year for them, between the kids, obviously, and then the storms that have blown through where they live. 2 hurricanes came through. It was like 2.
It was like 10.
Yeah, no.
That's what it seemed like. It was
just,
every other day, it was like, oh, another hurricane's coming through the Gulf. Yeah.
So I just find it impressive that they can even stand up and walk after the year they've had.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, I think maybe once they can lay the kids to rest, and this will, as we can see, other than these little things that pop up, it's going to be largely quiet for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe some healing and that sort of thing. But I thought the special was enlightening, and I thought it was, you know, it was painful to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that they did it, because to see the flip side of this, we see the investigations, but we really never see the day-to-day what happens with the families when somebody's missing.
Yeah.
So
there was a couple of other things that they spoke about on there, and we had talked about this. We always wondered how Charles and Lori met, and they actually met. She cut his hair.
Yeah, I would have never thought that.
I wouldn't have either.
I mean, I don't know what I would have thought, you know.
Yeah, I thought maybe, well, he wasn't in the Mormon church before he met her, so
I kind of always assumed maybe like a gym or something, but because he was in good shape. But interesting.
Another thing, Lori told Adam. So Adam is Lori's brother, and he's on this 3-hour special. That's the only thing he's ever been on. Like, we haven't seen him outside of that. But So Lori told him that if a bullet were to hit her, it would either go right through her or bounce off of her. I was like, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Pew, pew.
Yeah. So Adam did say, and this was interesting, Adam said that him and his dad had blood clots, but Alex never had them. Mm-hmm. And we know that's what they're saying he died of or whatever, so that was interesting.
He talked about how Lori would send them buckets that had 30 days worth of food in them.
Yeah, and she would send him Chad's books.
Yeah.
They said just other stuff. Lori had an encounter with the devil.
Well, she told Zach Cox that there were spirits around the house that I think that she could see, and that she had gotten into an argument with the devil.
Yeah. Yep. I think one of the most moving things on the 3-hour special for me was, so Kay and Larry are in this hotel, and somebody has to go identify the body. And Brandon Boudreaux calls and says, hey, we're close to Rexburg. We'd love to come by and see you. So they show up and meet Kay and Larry. And if you remember, Larry was sick. I think his vertigo was acting up or something.
That's right.
He was sick. And he wanted to go identify JJ. And Brandon told him, he was like, no, let me do it. You know, you don't want to do this. I want to help. You know, let me do this.
Yeah. And he and his new wife had driven, I think, 12 hours to get to them. And I think that was the purpose of the visit, was just to spare Larry from having to see that in his head every day.
Yeah.
Brandon will have to see that in his head.
Yeah.
But you could tell the love that they had for each other was, it was very protective the way Brandon was with Larry. It was, I think they all have a good support system. I think it seems like Colby and Brandon and Kay and Larry, and, you know, they have a good unit, and they're going to need it over the next few years. It's not going to be easy. They're going to have to relive the worst moments of JJ and Tylee's life probably several times.
Yeah.
There's so much more to come that's going to be hard, but, you know, they got each other, and it was just so nice to see on that documentary how he didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing's going to be when we get this full report from Alex Cox, we will read through that and go through and break that down for you.
Yeah, because right now we only have 4 pages. So
yeah, there wasn't a whole lot in there, but I'm interested to read the rest, because we really did a lot with the custody papers. We went through that. I think we did 5 or 6 episodes on that.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of an offshoot of that, because it's touched on, but this is only about that.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to reading the rest. And was there anything else, Fruit Loop?
I don't think so. I think that was it.
All right. Well, hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend.
Good night.